Hey, hi everyone. Welcome to another session on Minikube. So, in our previous session, we have done the installation and we have verified also that our installation ends up successful or not. In this video, what we are going to cover is like how we can deploy our application as a service on Minikube. So, this is what I am going to demonstrate and we will be using this installation not installation this guide, the Minikube uh, guide, so that like we can focus more on the application part rather than like creating. So we will be deploying our application as a service, and this particular example I am going to take. All right. So before we start, prerequisite would be like your Minikube should be like cluster should be up and running. That is one thing. And second is like this is a chain video of the previous one. So in case you missed that part, then like I would recommend that you cover that, and then we will jump onto this one. So these are interlinked only. Alright, so my Minikube is up and running, and like we will showcase you how we can deploy our service on Minikube. Alright, so basically if you take a look at this particular example itself, they are talking about create deployment, then followed by expose deployment, and then kubectl get service and all. So and then followed by like port forward, pod service and other thing. So I'll just give you a brief explanation about all these buzzwords so that you can understand and grasp the concept. All right. So for deployment, just consider it as an object of your application which will maintain the life cycle of your application. So let's say if you create any deployment, it means like you are creating an object. Then let's say if you edit it, it means that you want some modification to be done in your application. Let's say if you want to delete it, then you are deleting that particular object. So anything related to application in Kubernetes, you need to rely on deployment only. All right. So now just coming back to the service part. So for service, let's say service I will explain in a simple term itself. Let's say you have started Nginx service on one pod, and you want to access this particular uh, Nginx service which is running on the pod from you want to access it outside your IP, outside your cluster. So service is the way. Let's say anything which you want to expose, so that can be done through service only. So service is nothing but our pod endpoints which we are exposing as a service. All right. And pod, as I already shared in the last video as well, it is the smallest deployable unit. So for our viewers who are not much acquainted with Kubernetes, you can consider pod as a single container or a group of multiple container. So it depends upon your application use case, but like one pod is equal to one container, that is not the case always. All right. So that is one thing. Now one more thing, like in Kubernetes, whenever you are trying to expose your service, so there are a few service type only which you can use. So in this example, as you can see, there is node port. So node port is a type of service. The other one is load balancer. Apart from this, there is IP cluster, and then there is external name. So these four service types are available. So basically let's say if you want to expose some service within the cluster, then we will be using IP cluster. So I'll show you. If you can see this one, this Kubernetes, this service type is cluster IP only. So this is accessible within the cluster itself. Okay. Node port will like expose your service to the external world, but it will use static IP in the range of 30,000 and all, so that like it is accessible. So it is having some limitations as well. If you want to expose your service to entire world, and you want like a production grade environment, then you should use load balancer, which indirectly using which eventually using some cloud based services which can distribute the traffic. And external name we will use whenever we want to do DNS resolution. So this is just a small brief about all these buzzwords, so that you can try to grasp them. Alright, so let's get on with this particular example. So it is saying that kubectl create deployment followed by deployment name and the image. So basically like this is a Docker image which is required in order to deploy this application. So, and hello minikube is the name of the deployment. It could be like you can choose as per your requirement. So let me just copy this, and we will paste it here. So kubectl create deployment followed by deployment name and then the image. So if we do kubectl get deploy, so now you can see this object because we have created it, right? So merely creating it won't work. We need to expose this as a service as well. So which second command will do? So whenever we do expose, so in previous command we have created the deployment, in second one we are exposing the deployment, same name, everything, deployment name. The only two changes, we are providing hyphen type. So this is the type of service which we need to give. So we are providing node port, and on the port on which you want to access this particular application. So that is 8080. So if I hit enter, and if we do kubectl get SVC is using shortcut for services. So now you can see that there is another service added, like this one is already existed. Now hello minikube is there, right? Service is there. Now we'll try to get the endpoint of this particular application, or where we can access it. So for this we'll use minikube service followed by the name of service. So hello minikube is the name of service. Alright, so this is accessible here. There is another way, like if you can just append hyphen URL, and you will get to see the application endpoint where it could be accessed. And since we are using node port, so you can see that 32320, this is the port which is allocated. Now let me just curl it and try to see whether it is accessible within the cluster or not. So if I curl it, it is giving me the response, right? Now if I want to do the same thing like from my host machine, which is like in this browser, then I need to do port forwarding. So port forwarding is a way through which I can access it. Otherwise by default it will start on localhost, and you need to run it from there only. But I am doing one modification here, so I am allowing this service by passing address address parameter. Here I am saying that I want to access it from any valid IPv4 address. So this should be accessible, and this should be accessible on 7080 port. Alright, support forward I have done. Now I just IP. So this is our server IP, and if we colon 7080, if we do this, then you can see. Oh, sorry. So it was earlier like okay, some cache was there. So now it is saying that hello Minikube from this, and all. Right? So we are able to access it because we have allowed this to from any IP before. All right. So this is it. And one more thing, like you can now see that I'll get PO. So you can see this pod. This is the actual pod which is making your application available. So let's say even for debugging or some other useful information, you can use this command. Qctl describe PO. So you will get all the vital information regarding this. Even though if you want to describe for service, let's say, so service name is, just give me a moment, I'll copy the name of service. So if we pass kubectl describe, oh sorry, I need to specify what, so SVC and the name of service. So see, you will get to see all these details. Even for the deployment also you can do the same. Let's say if you do deploy. So see, you will get to see the information related to the deployment. Alright, so you can explore it further from here on. And before we wind up, let me do the cleanup as well. So first of all, we will delete the deployment. So kubectl delete deploy and the name of deployment, which is hello Minikube. So just destroy, and like if I check for kubectl, just I'm just checking for the deployment, so nothing is there. Right now I will delete the service. So instead of deploy, just change it with SVC, because hello Minikube is the same name we are using. And now if we do kubectl get no, not this one. If we do kubectl get service, so see hello Minikube is not there. If we do kubectl get PO, nothing is there. Alright, so this is what I have planned and prepared for this particular session. And like in our next session, what I am going to do is I will demonstrate how we can deploy custom applications. So this one we have copied it from the Minikube documentation itself, but that we will do. And apart from this, we will be demonstrating on Ingress, like what is Ingress and how to use it in your cluster. Yeah, so that's it for this particular video.